Hello everyone and welcome back to the X-Ring. I hope you're doing well today. I tried to do all this filming outside. I did get some video outside, but with the thunderstorms happening in the afternoon, I was constantly setting up and taking down. And so I figured that I would just go ahead and dedicate the time and do this indoors and give you a full review of the new Vectronix Vector X. So stick around. All right, so before we get into the review, let's go ahead and talk about some things first, guys. It is an awesome time to be into long-range shooting. I remember when I started back in the late 80s, early 90s, guys, we didn't have any laser rangefinders. There really wasn't anything in the consumer market. I remember the very first set of laser rangefinders that I had was one that were issued to me from my agency, and I was like, man, this is so awesome. You don't have to mill the size of a target. You can just put this thing on it and hit it, and sometimes it would give you the reading and sometimes it wouldn't. And then I ended up buying one for myself. I used to golf back in the day quite a bit, and I remember Bushnell came out with some yardage pros, and there were some limitations to it. They were only good out to 400 or 500 yards or so, and they even took golf courses and on the flags they actually put reflective tape so that you could get a reading back on that flag for the distance. So one of the most common laser rangefinders you're going to find are these little handheld units. And while these are absolutely great, the problem with using something that's a 3, 4, or 5 power like this is the fact that you really can't do any spotting or glassing with it, okay? And so you typically had a good set of binoculars that if you were looking for a target or if you were looking for some kind of animal, you'd see it, then you could pull out your laser rangefinders, you could range it, and then get to business whatever it is that you needed to do. First and foremost for me at the time was a spotting scope, and one of the first spotting scopes that I bought was a Leupold. It was the Mark IV, and it cost me a lot of money. And guys, this stuff was not sent to me for free with the exception of the actual Vector X's, which are on loan to me for this review, which I've actually had them for quite a while. More on that in just a minute. But having a good spotting scope with a mill-based reticle was pretty much what I wanted. And it worked really, really well. I'm no stranger to the spotting scopes. I've done a lot of reviews, everything from the Swarovskis with the STR-80s that actually have the digital mill reticle in it to, the Zeiss, some of the best quality glass out there, but no reticle. And so binos are something that I've had. This set's been around the world basically. This has been a good set of Steiners. I've played around with the Steiner LRFs. Those were a little cost prohibitive for the consumer market. They still are very expensive, and so are kind of all these products. But I remember SIG came out with their 3000 case. And these were great. These were the Kilo 3000s actually. And these were actually pretty economical for about $1,000. And guys, these things have been to hell and back. Whether it was a ruck style match, whether it was dropping off the side of the mountain, there are a lot of chips on this, and they've taken a beating and they still work to this day. But there were some limitations to it. The glass was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't like looking through a set of glass like the Leicas here. Now this is an older set. These are the Geovids. They did have the ballistics, but I've never really cared for the ballistics software that Leica had in them. And so these are great binoculars. These were the 10x42s, I believe, but and they lased pretty well, but not as good as I thought they were. One of the things that I will tell you when it comes to laser range finding, when they put a number on there and they say it's good out to 1,000 yards or whatever number it is, guys, you have to realize that's under perfect conditions. And I will touch on that here in just a moment, just like with these, the SIG, the Kilo 10Ks. Now these are not the second gen, these are actually the first ones that came out. They have that bluish tint, and these have been great. When you started seeing integration with Applied Ballistics into these things, it kind of solved all the problems for you. Now you had everything you needed. Boom, you could hit the target, you had your distance, you had your hold, and you were going to business. But these were kind of expensive. These were about $3,000, and they're a great set of binos. These have also been chipped. They've actually been through a lot. I mean, guys, in the heat of the moment, you're going to do what you got to do. If something falls, if something hits, it's one of those things. It just happens. But one of the things that I didn't like about it was I didn't like the glass being blue. They did work really well, but I even tested this out in the mountains, and you know, because it's where I live, and I really never lased any targets beyond about 3,000 yards or so, you know, depending on if it was trees or if it was a rock or something like that. Just never saw those numbers. So if it says it'll go to 10K or 7,000, you're typically not going to see that. It'll probably be less than half of that, but it all depends on conditions. But I will tell you that these SIGs actually impressed me a lot. I was really surprised because I've never been a huge fan of the SIG, the electronics on them, just with their dots and whatnot. I've just seen some issues with that. But these have held up. They've been great. I know up until last year you could get these for about $800 or so. Very simple, easy to use. You had 2 buttons. You could do it when they were gloved. No issues whatsoever. The clarity was good on it. And they were good, but no reticle in them. Well, when the 10Ks came out, these had kind of a reticle in it. It was electronic, and it didn't have a lot of resolution in it. I mean, when you look at them, you're going to have 1 mil dots in there or so, and like I said, that's just not fine enough. Now, there's been plenty of companies like Steiner and some of the other ones that have had reticles within their binoculars, but getting it all paired up with a great laser rangefinding system that could fit in the consumer market's budget has been tough. So definitely no stranger to military contracts, and some of the best laser rangefinding capabilities has been a company called Safran Vectronix. You guys might know the Vectronix from either being in the military, or you might have a set of Terrapin X's or something like that. Very simple, a little bit larger. I mean, they looked kind of like a binocular. I'll show you a picture of that. Basically, it's a 1-button operation, and you had to remember how many dots and how many holds. It was 3 presses or 6 presses. And if that's all you used, it wasn't bad, but there was a little bit of a learning curve with that. But they are absolutely unbelievable laser rangefinders. So during SHOT Show 2024 this year, Safran reached out to me, and I was really honored to be able to beta test these. So this is not something that I just got in last week. Guys, they're already doing pre-orders on these through quite a few places. I think Euro Optic is actually going to be the primary distributor in the United States for not only the Vector X, but also the Reticle X, which is their binoculars without laser rangefinding capabilities. I'll go over all the specs and everything in just a moment. But I did have an opportunity to test these. I've been running them, and I'm not just saying it, but I'm impressed with it, okay? The glass clarity is on par with anything you see on the table. I can't tell you exactly where the glass is sourced from, but I will tell you will not be disappointed. I've compared them side by side with the Leicas, with the SIGs, and these are up there at the very top. So you don't have to worry about glass quality. As far as the weight of them and the size, guys, these things are super compact, super portable. They're about the same size as the SIGs. They're a little bit longer, but they're not quite as fat on the actual lenses themselves. Now, guys, these right here are a set of 10x42s. What I do like about the Vectronix Vector X's is they give you 3 different options. You can go with an 8 power by 42, you can go with a 10 power by 42, or you can go with a 12 power by 42. I've always liked the 10 power because I've got a great field of view. And for those that are wondering, at 1,000 yards, I think the field of view on the 10 powers is going to be about 333 feet or so. And I think it's a little bit wider on the 8 powers. I think it goes up to like 390 or something like that. Same for the Reticles. Now, the Reticles are not available in a 12 power. But what you can do with any of these is you can add the range extenders. So at first, when I saw these and I was talking to the guys at Safran, I didn't know if I was going to like the range extenders, but after getting them and using them, they are quite nice. And what it does is these range extender guys, they're available for an additional $600. to whatever unit you go with. There is no adjustability on power or anything like that on these. These are a fixed power, and whatever power you start with, it's going to add 40%. So in the case of these 10 powers, if I were going on a hunt or something and I wanted to be able to add more magnification, all I have to do is pop the lens cover off and screw this into the end of the 42 millimeter end here, and immediately I'm going to go to a 14 power binocular. Okay, now this is important to know because on the Vector X, you have to decide whether or not you're going to get range enhancers or extenders or not. And the reason for that is going to be because of your choice of reticles. The Vector X offers two variations of etched reticles within the glass. One is an SMR, that's a single magnification range, and then the other is the DMR, which is dual magnification range. These do have Applied Ballistics, not some other type of software or something like that. It will integrate with your Kestrel, like your 5700. It'll also work with your Garmin, like if you've got a Fortrex or something like that. You've got full integration with it, and there is going to be an app with it. Now, I've got the beta version of the app. I've been using it, and it works phenomenally well. No issues whatsoever uploading profiles or getting them in here. And guys, this HUD is absolutely great. What I like about the HUD system is you can configure it with as much or as little information as you need. So you can put everything from your holdovers and your windage and all of that in there, and you say, well, what if I don't have a Kestrel? Applied Ballistics, so you'll be able to get all the data that you need, everything from temperature to barometric pressure to humidity, all of that's going to be in there, and it's integrated very nicely. Guys, this D-pad is extremely intuitive. They've added shortcuts, so by holding, let's say, left, if you press and hold that, that'll go straight to your Bluetooth menu. If you hold far right, that'll get you to your target card, which is one of the most impressive things that I've found out about these Vectronix Vector X's. Let's go ahead and take a look at this reticle designed by Fin Accuracy. So without the range extenders, you're going to use the left side reticle, and then when you add this, it's going to make you use the right side. That way all of your mills and adjustments and all that are correct so that the scale is not off. Think about second focal plane as opposed to first focal plane when you start changing the power. And this just keeps it constant because these are a fixed power 10, you add the 40%, you go to 14 power, you're going to need a different scale of reticle. Now, looking on the left side, because you're looking at 10 power right now, you've got far left, which is 30, and then working your way right, you're going to see 25, 20, 15, 10, and then you've got 10 full mils. You will see the 2/10 all the way off to the right, and you see your half and full mil graduations. If you come down from the 5 mil mark in the center there, you'll see your 2/10, 5/10, all the way down to 25 mils. If you come down to the 5 mil mark and go left, you'll see a full wind hold grid pattern there, and you'll also, to the left of that, see 10x, which tells you what the native power is for what you're using. If you look to the right, you'll see what that reticle looks like on 14 power, and because it's going to be in that magnified range, you'll see it's a little bit larger. In the center, you're going to see your standard plus sign or quote-unquote crosshair, and then to the right of that, you're going to see 1 mil and 2 mil. Now, as far as the operation of these, guys, it is super simple. You've got full Bluetooth integration with everything from your Kestrel with Applied Ballistics to your Garmin systems to your Vortex 4000s. They'll even work on the Wilcox Raptors. Guys, I actually don't use the Raptors much anymore. You guys haven't seen them on the channel. You know, it was a great expense to get those. And while it was good to have, and there is a time and place for it, for a lot of the matches that I shot, it just almost seemed like it was in the way. It was too cumbersome. Sure, it might save you here and there, but you could also get a bad reading too and just hit right behind it, and you wouldn't realize that you were off by 80 yards or 100 yards, and if the target's 700 yards away, you're going to end up being low. So it is extremely fast, but you're also looking at $6,000 to $10,000 depending on which model, which series, and all of that. As far as the actual Vector X's, guys, there is so much to this. It's going to be a long video, but if you want to know about it, you got to watch the video, because I don't know of any other videos out there other than Area 419 who actually collaborated with Safran on these, and they had some great input. But starting at the front, you do have removable flip-up lens caps. That's the first and foremost, so you're going to be protecting those lenses. Coming on back, you actually have your battery compartment here, and one of the beauties of it is you're not using a CR2 battery like the SIGs. You're actually using a 123A, and so that's a common battery size. You can find that at any Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, anything like that. You're going to be able to find those 123s. But one of the beauties of it is you can also use the 18650s. So the longer battery compartment is available for that 18650, and it will ship with your box. So if, let's say, you had a Surefire battery in here, but you wanted to go to a 18650, you do have the extender here, so you can run those for longer run time. You'll also notice that we have a tethered cap, unlike the SIGs and some other models. It's not something we want to lose, isn't that right? Because if you can lose it out in the field, you probably will. So it does have a little steel cable here. Let me go ahead and get this back on. And there it is, all nice and tethered. Now, when you look on it on the top side, you actually have two pads. The one on the right, for the right hand, it's a large button. Even if you had gloves on, you'd be able to press this button. It's not a tiny button, and that's going to press and hold to turn it on. And then when you press it after that, that is when it's going to laser the target. On the left side, you actually have a 5-position D-pad. You have center, up, down, left, and right. We'll get into those functions here in just a minute. And then you also have eyepiece covers. If you guys notice, they actually put a split ring on the left side so you can't lose this. It's attached to your neck strap, and so having that neck strap, I don't normally run a neck strap, but I wanted to put them on for the purpose of this video. All of this is machined aluminum. It has a great sound to it, great quality. On the eye cups themselves, you actually have standoffs just like you do on most of your other binoculars. I will tell you, I don't have a set of, let's say, Vortex Furies. You know, one of the biggest downfalls of those are the eye cups. If it takes a fall, these will break or snap, and now you're running around with something that looks chintzy. Of course, it'll get fixed in no time, and no dig on Vortex is just what I know about it. You also have independent adjustability for left side, because your reticle is going to be on the right side, so you want to adjust that first, and then you're going to adjust the focus, and then you can adjust the left eye if needed, depending on if you needed corrective lenses. But one of the biggest things that I really like about this set is on the bottom of the right side ocular, you actually have a little plate. It's a knockout plate, basically. You unscrew the small screw, and you will be able to attach ARCA mounts. Okay, there's a couple companies making these ARCA mounts. Of course, you have the one by Area 419. They did a great job machining this, but guys, this is super nice, because now it's out of the way. I'm not using some cinch strap like this, and the problem with the Really Right Stuff cinch strap, while it worked and it got the job done, if this took a pretty hard fall, your cinch strap could release. I don't want to be pulling on this objective too hard, but these can release under a hard impact because it's just a ratchet strap, basically. And that's how both of these have fallen, is because they will actually get hit and then it will let off, and you don't want to just crush the tube. There's been some issues with that as well. If you use too much pressure, it's like squeezing a scope tube too hard. Now, as far as the actual use of it, guys, these actually have a HUD inside that will give you all the information you need. It has all internal sensors, so you can use the sensors for temperature. All of that can be turned on and turned off. It is a very practical, multi-use HUD. It will give you everything from your azimuth to your slope. It will give you your corrections, your distance, and it just works well. You can put in as much information or as little information as you want to see, but one of the best things about it is on this D-pad here, guys, they put in shortcuts. So not only do you have up and down, but if you do a long hold on, let's say, left, it immediately goes to Bluetooth sync. So far, and I've actually used this on a couple of videos, the ones on the Black Arc ammo. I was also using it with the Sako, the M10. These do make it really nice. Guys, they've paid attention to every single thing that you could possibly want, even down to the case. So like on the case here, guys, this is a nice case. It's rather large, but you do have a soft close buckle here that doesn't make any noise when you open it. Here you have a clear spot so that if you wanted to use this for a range card, you could lay it down beside of you and you've got your range card visible here. You also have places to put batteries and also any of those accessories. And then within the pocket itself, it's large enough, and there's a side pocket for your Kestrel. So you can keep the Kestrel within the pocket itself. On the back side, you're going to have MOLLE. Back here, you have a Velcro closure up on the top, and then you also have a place to attach a harness or any system like that. Now, guys, like I said, it is chock full of features that I love. If, let's say, you did not have an ARCA and you didn't have a need for an ARCA, you can still use this knockout plate, and it does come supplied with a polymer 1/4x20, and so you can attach this to your favorite tripod mount or something like that where you're not using the ARCA itself. Guys, the Really Right Stuff one is pretty neat. On the Really Right Stuff mount for the base of it, this allows you to cant it. So for any of you guys that have used binoculars on tripods, sometimes when you're getting the eyes correct, what happens is now it's canted at an angle and you have to tilt your head down, the head of the ball head itself. This, on the Really Right Stuff, allows you to loosen, and then now you can actually cant the attach point itself. It'll actually swivel left or right. You can lock it in pretty easily with the hand, and so this is another good quality piece, and this is machined aluminum as well. So I hope you guys learned a lot about the new offerings by Safran Vectronix. I will tell you that on the Reticle X with the etched reticle, guys, the price point on these is going to be about $1,199, so $1,200 for just the basic binocular. And it's a great binocular. Here's the knockout here without the ARCA mount on it. And so for either the 8 powers or the 10 powers, that's a good option if you're just looking for a set of binos that have an etched reticle. Now there are other options on the market, you guys know that, but even the Bushnell Match Pro, which I reviewed last year, which is a great set, it's got actually a great reticle. It does a really good job, and it is going to be a cheaper price point, but it is not the Vectronix name. When it comes to the actual Vector X binoculars, what you're looking at is about $2,799 or $2,800 for the 8 power or the 10 power. But when you step it up to the 12 power, it is going to step it up another $100. Now, all of it can't be good, correct? There's got to be some negative. In my time of using it, which, like I said, I've had them for over a month now, where I've been taking them out pretty much every day. These have actually been in the case on a motorcycle shaking around. I have not tried to do any type of destructive testing as part of it. I wouldn't do any of that. These are waterproof rated with the IP rating, 67 rating, I believe, but they really did cover all the bases. There are 1 or 2 things that I don't prefer, and I've already shared this with them. I don't know if these changes will happen, but I will tell you that when I need a set of laser range-finding binoculars quickly, let's say you're at a match, if you pull them out quickly, the minute I hit the SIGs, they're on. I mean, immediately I get it's telling me it's on, and then boom, I hit it and I get a yardage. Unfortunately, on these, once they go to sleep, you have to actually press and hold, and now they're on. And now that they're on, now I can range. Now we're only talking about a split second or so, but guys, you got to think in a match environment. You might think that I'm nitpicking here, but think about the Kestrels. Think about from when they first started with Applied Ballistics to now where you've got the 5700Xs, which have a faster processor. People want that information more quickly, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of quit using the Wilcox Raptors. While they're quick, it's not quick enough for me, and now I've just pretty much been relegated to an armband that has the holds on it. If I'm in a situation where I don't have time to get that hold on a set of binoculars, it's, in my opinion, a little bit faster in some instances than, let's say, using the Wilcox. The Wilcox is nice, though. There's another thing that I hope they take a look at, and while the reticle is great, I love the reticle in it as far as the information that it allows you. These reticles were designed by Fin Accuracy, who has a long-standing reputation with designing reticles. I just don't quite like the layout of it. And my complaint with it is I've never seen a horizontal that didn't start in the corner. At least give me a T with this being 0, very much like your scope. If your 0 is in the center, then you've got, let's say, 5 mils left and 5 mils right. But when you offset that by 5 mils, now my zeros over here, my 2/10 increments over here on the side. And so if I'm trying to get an elevation hold, now I'm kind of lost over here, because now on the windage I have nothing really for wind. Everything's biased to one side or another. They do give you a grid reticle, which works really well. It's in the bottom left-hand corner, but you've got to have kind of that centered up target on that. Otherwise, those 1/2 mil holds or those 1 mil dots, they just look kind of out of place. So I kind of wish they would have centered that up, or at least put 2/10 closer to that line, because sometimes when you're giving corrections, which guys, these are good enough to use for not only PRS, but also hunting, but also any of these ruck style matches. They're good enough for that, but if you are, let's say, an RO and all you're doing is spotting, or if you are the secondary shooter and you needed to give corrections and let's say 3/10 left, well, the way it's set up, it's going to be hard to see that 3/10. You might see it and it's going to be good for spotting, but you're not going to have that precision reticle right there where you need it. I do like the fact that they are off to the sides and not in the center, cluttering up the center. And one of the things I will tell you is there's not a single laser rangefinder on this table that will go as far as these. Guys, I've actually taken these up into the mountains and tried to hit targets as far as I can, and even though they do tout 7,000 meters, the furthest I've been able to hit is right at 4,000 meters with these, and on any of these other ones, including the SIG 10Ks, the furthest I could get was a little about 3,000 with the reflectivity that we had that day. Remember, on any of these laser rangefinders, doesn't matter if they're binos or if they are handhelds, you are going to be limited by environmental conditions. If you have fog, it's going to give you false readings because it's going to reflect off that fog, and it could give you a reading of 30 yards when in fact it's 3,000 yards or 2,900 yards. You really don't know where that fog is. You can kind of see it, but if it reflects off of that, the water droplets, it's going to either obscure it, you won't get a reading, or it's going to give you a reading to the actual fog itself. Rain can also do a number on you on trying to get those. And so remember, back in the days when I did it, we had to mill everything, and now this has gotten so much simpler. Guys, I love innovation. Innovation is what drives the industry. It's what drives the price down, and it is what makes these somewhat affordable at $3,000. Guys, let's face it, if you're a precision rifle shooter, if you're a long range shooter, you're not doing this on the cheap. You're going to sacrifice something, either durability, clarity, something, and you typically are going to get what you pay for. I think they hit the price point right on the mark. I don't think it's too expensive, especially with a name like Vectronix, I mean, who's really a leader in the industry when it comes to laser rangefinding technology. So guys, I know it was very long-winded. I know it was somewhat boring, but that is my evaluation of the Safran Vectronix Vector X. I think you'll be satisfied with these, and if you get a chance, I know I'm going to buy a set, so if you get a chance, definitely check them out. You will not be disappointed. You guys take care. Have a great one.